All right, I think we can all agree. We love to golf, but maybe we could use a few tips. So we called Samantha Meisner, Director of Instruction at Top Golf in Auburn Hills, Michigan. Okay, Samantha, so there's no doubt about it. As we get older, our pride gets in the way, right? That alpha male. But the reality of it is we're going to lose muscle mass.
Absolutely.
Right?
We're going to lose power as well.
So hence power. We're going to lose endurance. We're definitely going to lose flexibility.
Yes.
All the above.
Yes.
Right?
All the above. They're all gone.
So walk us through a couple of the things we can do, because we have to golf smarter now, right?
Absolutely.
With not so much brawn.
Yep.
So walk us through a couple of exercises
Right.
that can help us kind of compensate for that.
Definitely. So I see a lot of the times where older people still want to maintain their strength and their power and their distance. However, like you said, it's not exactly the main focus anymore. Yes, so we want to make sure that the main thing is we're stretching before we go. And you can stretch up to 20 minutes ahead of time. That would be great. You know, before you're even at the golf course, stretch. Stretch when you wake up, stretch when you get to the course. Super important. Another good one is just maintaining that flexibility. And a good drill to do is putting your club across your shoulders and right at the top of your shoulders. Some people have it down low. We want it right at the top of our shoulders. Getting in your nice stance here, and make sure that you're very athletic still. No
knees bent?
Yes, knees have to be a little bit bent. The only reason we have our knees bent is to maintain that flexibility. So if we straighten out our knees, we're not going to have that flexibility anymore. And we really want to use as much as we can, because it is going to be kind of dwindling at this point. So we want to make sure that our knees are nice and bent.
That's a nice way to put it.
Yes. Our knees are bent and our chest is nice and tall, and we're able to rotate here. So this is a really good drill. So you're rotating towards your ball. You're going to rotate that shoulder downwards, not up. We want it down, facing down towards our ball. And then you can even practice that follow through. Using that motion here is going to maintain your flexibility and your core strength. So you're going to notice a lot of strength in your back and your core to get this drill accomplished.
Okay, good. Yeah, and I think we talked about knees being bent, because I know one thing. There's a lot to think about, right? If we're trying to implement a lot of different new things that we haven't, tried before, used before. Absolutely. Arms straight, don't not too much in the wrists and all that. Then something else might suffer.
Yeah,
and in this case, maybe the knees, not being bent, because as you get older, you get fatigued. What's the first thing to go? For me, it's my knees. There's no doubt about that.
Absolutely. So maintaining a great posture, and we can go over just what that looks like real quick, is making sure that we're bending at our hips first. A lot of times people go straight to the knees to try and keep that knee bend. We want to make sure that our hips go out first, and then we bend our knees. And the knees should be just bent enough where they're able to bounce. So that way when we're rotating, we can use the flexibility in our knees to rotate our hips and our shoulders back. And that's another key component here. We want to make sure that our shoulders can rotate back too. So without our lower body, we can only get so far with our arms and our shoulders. So we want to make sure that everything is kind of following that path backwards.
So we open up our shoulders.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
So you're going to go back first before you come down, making sure that you allow those hips to move. So many people get stuck on the idea that they need to stay really stable, but then they start staying straight and sliding back and forth. So loading up that power, you can still maintain that power with loading towards your back leg, just making sure you're not sliding that back leg.
So there's this reference to power loading.
Yeah.
And that's what you're talking about right
Absolutely.
now.
Absolutely. So again, power loading being that we want to load the inside of our back leg. So the inside of my right leg is going to be power loaded. So we're loading back. About 60% of my weight will transfer to my back leg, and then 100% ends up on my front leg on the fence.
You know what else I noticed too is you kind of opened your hips a little bit.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because again, you can only move your body so far. If you think about it as a unit, your upper body can only move so far. We want to be able to use both the upper and lower half of our body to maintain that flexibility. So a lot of times people try and get all the way back up. You might not have that anymore. So getting to as far as you can go before you start feeling like your arms are the only thing traveling. So if you can only maintain this swing, that's fine. you got to work with what you got.
Now, we talked too about the principle when we were putting. So does it apply here too? So as far back as you take your club, is that your follow through distance as well?
Absolutely. I mean, you should definitely finish your swing on your full swings here. We want to make sure that we go all the way through and complete our swing all the way. We want to make sure that our weight transfer gets all the way to our left side and we finish with our hips open towards our target and our chest open towards our target.
Got it.
All right, so let's talk about, we're right here on the fringe of the cup, right? Let's talk about the bump and run, or the pitch and run, as
Yeah.
sometimes it's called.
Absolutely.
And kind of walk us through that.
Yeah. So when we are this close, it's always good to analyze what we're going over. So meaning literally, what are we flying over? Right now, I'm only flying over some of the fringe and then a little bit of the rough. We've placed ourselves in the rough and we have quite a ways to go. If the cup or the hole were closer to us, maybe that would change my decision on clubs. So let's start there. Clubs are super important. We have a couple wedges. We have a pitching wedge. We have maybe a sand wedge or a 60-degree wedge. You might have a pitching wedge. There's really no wrong answer for when you're this close to the green. You can actually bump and run. You can fly it high, whatever you like. However, if we're gonna pitch and run, it's gonna be a lot more consistent because the lower we can be, the more consistent our ball is gonna roll. Think about if you're just gonna fly it high and land it soft. There's a lot in stake and a lot that could go wrong, right? So
Okay.
we wanna make
Yep.
sure that we are being as consistent as possible. And to do that, a pitch and run is probably gonna be your safest bet. You can do a pitch and run or a bump and run with any club in your bag. So you have a pitching
I have
wedge,
a wedge, yep.
I have a 54 degree. I can still complete this bump and run successfully. It just depends on my preferred ball flight. So my ball flight will be a little bit higher than yours because my club is a little bit higher. Super important here is our grip. We want to make sure that our grip from here on out, from short game to our long game, is going to be very consistent. So I always like to start with the club on my left side and grip the club naturally. So my hands, my thumbs hang inside my body, right? They don't point out straight. So we want to make sure that our thumb is on the inside of that grip. All right, so that thumb is pointing right down the inside of that golf pride grip. And then once I bring my hand to the center of my stance, I'll add my second hand on, and this thumb will go on the opposite side of that golf pride grip. So you kind of have this little overlap. Another way you can think about it are these two little arrows that we have created with our thumbs, and they should be pointing up towards your back shoulder. In my case, my right shoulder. Or you can think about these two knuckles that you have right here, your pointer finger knuckle and your middle finger. You should be able to see both of those on your grip from here on out. So starting from your short game all the way up to full swing. Your grip should now be very consistent, and you should do this every single time. And once we get to our swing, we're gonna use our arms only, not our wrists. A lot of people eventually come through with our wrists, and we don't want that to happen. So the first thing that we wanna do is make sure we're locked out, our arms are straight, and I like to have a little forward press in my hands, meaning I press my club a little bit. That gives my club a little bit of an angle and a leading edge to get underneath the ball and get right underneath for solid contact. So again, I take a couple practice swings, making sure that my arms are doing all the work. Very similar to putting, we want to make sure that the weight of the club is doing the work for us. We don't want to make this fast movement because that's going to be very inconsistent as well. So we're just going to go here, pick a speed that I like.
Oh, nice.
Thank you very much.
Beautiful
And
shot.
notice how I hold off my hands. I'm almost pointing my club down toward my target line. A lot of people will get down to the bottom and wait. So we want to make sure we always complete that swing, same as putting. Again, it's very similar. It's almost an exaggerated putt is what I like to say.
I'm gonna try one.
All right,
All right.
come on up.
This may not make it to film, but that's okay.
Straight arms, make sure your grip is nice. Super straight elbows, lock it in. Even straighter. Yeah, there you go. That's all right.
That definitely won't make it to film. Let's try one more.
So you're gonna press your hands this way. Yeah, there you go.
Oh, okay,
There
I
you
got
go.
you.
Now keep your elbows locked and you're just gonna rotate your shoulders back and through. Make sure you finish your swing. Better. You kind of stopped at the bottom a little bit, but that was much better. Not bad. All right, so one of the most difficult shots in golf is this downhill lie, or any type of slanted lie that you find yourself on. So this goes for chipping and full swing, where you want to, instead of, your body will naturally try to lean against the hill, you're gonna want to widen your stance and lean with the hill. So So it's gonna feel very funny, especially if you're on an extreme like I am right now. You're gonna wanna lean with the hill and get really wide in your base. That way you can stay really steady and stable. When I have my hands straight down, I won't worry about my club coming right back behind the ball. When I'm leaning with the hill now, it becomes a flat surface to my body, right?
Arms still straight?
Arms are still very straight, yes. Everything goes with chipping where you are gonna have your arms very straight and consistent. We're still rocking back and forth. The only thing that has changed is we are, instead of leaning against a hill, we're gonna lean with it. So I'll go ahead and try and hit one of these.
Now, do you adjust the club head at all?
You can. To keep it simple and for just the beginner golfer, just understanding the concept of leaning with the hill is going to be great.
So Samantha, I had asked you, how do we line the putt up? And you said, wait, pump the brakes, right?
Yes.
There's a couple things we need to do before we get to that point.
Yes,
So talk about
absolutely.
that.
Absolutely. So there's only really two main categories in putting, and that's distance and direction. So if you have great distance, but you're off on your direction, it's not going to add up. Same thing on the opposite end. So if you have great direction, but not great distance, you're going to struggle in both categories just a little bit.
Okay.
So it's always good to focus on distance first, because it seems to be a little bit easier to move forward after you can nail down distance.
Okay.
So my favorite drill for distance
Sure.
is to put all the way across the green from fringe to fringe before I even aim at a cup, because that actually makes you understand the distance control on this particular green. So what we can do is we can back up all the way to the end of the green, or you can just aim towards the end of our little area we have here. So I like to take a couple practice swings and make sure that I have the speed control with my club first. And I don't want to be rushing it. I don't want to swing it back and swing it through. I want to just be drawing it back and letting the weight of the putter do the work for me. And if that makes it to the other end of the green, that's great. If not, I know I need to bring it back a little bit more.
Okay.
So distance control is mainly based off of your backswing. The bigger the backswing, the more you're going to have power behind that ball. Not bad. A little hard.
A little
Not
hard,
bad.
right?
So another really great distance drill is just one-handed putting in general, because one-handed putting gives you the idea of letting the putter do the work for you. So what I do is I take my dominant hand, which is my right hand, and I just draw it back and kind of follow the weight of the putter. So you can do it with either hand, whatever feels comfortable to you. You're just going to understand the weight of the putter a little bit more for this drill.
And the goal is to make it to the end of the green.
Yes,
Okay.
same goal. Same goal. So I'm just going to draw it back and kind of let the putter do its thing and see how far that can take me.
Nice. Okay. I'll use my back.
Not bad. A lot of times I'll see a lot of wrist movement or a lot of like popping action and stopping that motion, where you really want to understand that the putter is doing the work for you. You're just kind of the motor for that. So you're just bringing it back and letting it go through. It's difficult to control your distance with wrists. It's way more accurate and way more consistent to have arm movement.
Okay.
So having that rotation is super important, making sure that we aren't really using anything besides the rotation of our shoulders, and it's all arms. So on the putting green, you have a lot of different grips. Some people like to have their left hand low. If you're a right-handed putter, some people like their lead hand low. Some people prefer the other way. There's a claw grip. Again, there's a whole bunch of different grips out there. So you can do whatever feels comfortable for you, as long as you have one hand feeling most of the weight of the putter, and the other hand, I like to use my left hand as that guide to keep my putter nice and straight. That way I don't have to worry about that face opening and closing at impact. That's kind of the purpose of my left hand. So my right hand does all my distance control, and my left hand does my direction control. So there's a little bit of both in each hand. As long as there's a delicate balance between the two, you're going to be in good shape. So your grip doesn't matter as much specifically for your putting, but once you get into your full swing, it definitely matters.
So let's line the putt up.
Yeah, absolutely. So first things first, for any golf shot that I take, I like to line up towards my target by standing behind it first. So I'll stand behind the ball and just imagine a straight line between my target and my ball. And of course, you want to be able to read the green at this point. But for a straight putt, let's just go with that first. We want to make sure that we have an intermediate target of some sort. So you can find some type of fault on the green, some type of spot that you can see. Maybe there's a little blade of grass, or maybe there's a little bump. You can aim for that spot and it'll make your target line a lot easier.
Okay.
So I'm gonna pick something that's really close to my ball, probably like within 2 feet, just because it's a little bit easier once I start to line up towards my target. I'm picking a little spot here, and then I just line up my feet and my putter lines in that direction and hope that it will make it in the cup.
And so do some guys make the mistake of having too much speed on the backswing?
Yes, absolutely. You see a lot of times where people drop back really fast, or they bring it back and then they pop down and kind of stop right after. They stop that motion from going and continuing. But you really want to make it as smooth as possible. I like to tell people, bring it back as far as you're going to take it forward. If not, you can keep on going.
Okay.
You always want to at least match your backswing with your follow through. And if not, you can keep on going a little bit further.
Good.
So there you go. A few simple tips to help improve your game. Thanks for watching The Gentleman's Advisor.